Dear friends, I'm operator Starsky, and this is day 1118 of Russia's war of aggression against Ukraine. What's happening in Kursk Oblast? Let's talk about it today. Russian invaders struggling over Toretsk and Pokrovsk. Trump administration abandons the international group that is investigating Russian atrocities in Ukraine. And will the US accept the Russian territorial demands regarding the Ukrainian regions? My dear friends, this is the Frontline Focus. Let's roll. In 2024, the Russian propagandists called the Kursk operation failing and disastrous. Over the first 3 days before the town of Sudzha collapsed to the Ukrainian troops, the Russians reported that all the incurring Ukrainian forces were eliminated. However, it took 8 months for the whole Russian Federation, with the help of the North Korean military, to take back control over this settlement. Numerous Russian units were redeployed from Kharkiv, Luhansk, Donetsk and Zaporizhia directions, including numerous reserves located on the Russian territory and the above-mentioned North Koreans, in order to establish a counteroffensive involving at least 50,000 men. Just so you could understand the significance of this operation, 50,000 men is roughly a quarter of all Russian infantry actively engaged in combat at this point, according to the General Staff of Ukraine. At this moment, the Ukrainian troops are controlling 2 footholds on the Russian territory and the strategic heights along the Russian border, giving them slight advantage over the counterattacking Russian troops. You may ask, what's going on with those 5,000 Ukrainian soldiers completely encircled in Kursk Oblast, as both Putin and Trump claimed in their recent statements? The fact is, we cannot know, simply because they don't exist. Several Russian reporters already mentioned this on their channels. They said that nobody has been encircled, indicating that Putin keeps lying. But of course, it's really hard to pretend encircling such a large group of imaginary enemy. In Toretsk, which was claimed captured by the Russian terrorists over a month ago, we can see an ongoing dynamic combat. The Russian invaders improved their positions on the north, but at the same time they were pushed back from the southern flank. According to the reports from the ground, Ukrainian forces seemingly launched a counteroffensive that was supported by a big number of strike drones and artillery. In Pokrovsk, the situation also seems promising, as the Ukrainian forces on the ground reported several successful counterattacks. Unfortunately, due to the OPSEC, we will learn more details on it a bit later, but also just to remind you, the Russian terrorists hoped to take control of the city before the new year. Not sure though if they were talking about 2025 or 2026. At a larger scale, Ukraine now relies on the European support to increase its defensive capabilities, particularly because cities like Kherson, Zaporizhia and Kharkiv are being vulnerable due to their proximity to the Russian occupational forces. The Ukrainian law enforcement, as well as the Prosecutor General, investigate more than 145,000 cases of war crimes that were committed by the Russian invaders against Ukraine. Those include numerous crimes against the Ukrainian minors, including almost 20,000 cases of kidnapping and illegal deportation to Russia. This is a direct violation of the international law, as you probably know, that is being investigated not only by the Ukrainian Prosecutor General, but also a number of countries working together in frames of a group that was established to hold the leadership of Russia, Belarus, DPRK and Iran accountable for their crimes committed against Ukraine. I think it's not necessary to even explain why the war criminals should always face responsibility, right? So just a while ago, according to the New York Times, the Trump administration decided to withdraw the United States from this investigation group, meaning that the US will cease all attempts to punish the war criminals, including those from Belarus, Iran and North Korea, that were involved in the Russian aggression against Ukraine and violated the international law. Simultaneously, the Trump administration also reduced the work performed by the War Crimes Accountability Team. This team was created to coordinate the efforts of the US Justice Department to hold Russians accountable for atrocities committed against Ukrainian civilians. A Russian neo-Nazi Jan Petrovsky will spend life in jail in Finland. Notorious Russian terrorist is a co-founder of the Russian neo-Nazi group Rusich, involved in war crimes and atrocities against Ukrainian civilians and military in Donbass that included shooting and decapitating Ukrainian prisoners. Another co-founder of this group, Alexei Melchikov, is a notorious self-proclaimed Russian Nazi, awarded numerous times by the Russian command for his participation in the war of aggression against Ukraine. You probably remember that before the war, Alexei Melchikov became famous in Russia for hunting stray dogs and decapitating puppies on camera, which most probably answers your question on why the Russian terrorists commit atrocities wherever they go. According to the Finnish court, Jan Petrovsky will spend the rest of his life behind the bars, which in my opinion is a good confirmation that justice actually works if you truly care about it. In his recent interview to the ABC News, the US Security Advisor Mike Waltz confirmed that Trump administration considers complying with the demands issued by the internationally wanted war criminal Putin that include giving up several Ukrainian regions, including those currently not controlled by the Russian invaders. As of this moment, we don't really know any clear details on security guarantees besides "trust my word" and "I swear to God," indicating that Trump administration obviously still has no strategy on settling the Russian invasion of Ukraine. At the same time, I remember this funny and useless paper called Budapest Memorandum signed by the US in 1994, where American people promised to respect Ukrainian territorial integrity and provide Ukraine with all kinds of necessary support if the country is attacked. Ukraine only gave its world's third largest nuclear arsenal in return, because Ukraine wanted the West to trust its peaceful intentions. Frankly speaking, to me, the term territorial concessions doesn't really sound like respecting Ukraine's territorial integrity. Also, it doesn't really sound like big support. Of course, there's quite a few people out there screaming, "Stop defending yourself from Russia or you will die," or "Don't bring the world to the World War III." But at the same time, as a Ukrainian, when you have to hide your kids in a bomb shelter from Russo-Iranian drones and missiles, you don't really care if this is World War III or not. The difference is that, surprisingly, there are some people out there that feel much more scared while sitting on their safe sofas than the Ukrainian nation being under fire and fighting for its survival for the past 3 years. In the meantime, it is expected that Germany will indeed send Taurus missiles to Ukraine. We expect this decision to be taken in the observable future. Also, French President Macron stated that the peacekeeping troops can be deployed to Ukraine regardless of Russia's position. The peacekeepers potentially can be deployed to Kyiv, Lviv, and Odessa, according to the information coming from the military analysts. With that, my dear friends, I wish you all a beautiful day. Please subscribe to stay informed about the most important updates and share this content to help Ukraine be heard. I'll see you in the commentaries. I'm Operator Starsky. As always, be safe.